G'day folks and welcome to the Vookcast, Australia's Nintendo podcast. My name's Oliver Brandt and with me this week are Angelo Valdivia,
Hey paisanos.
Michael Goncalves,
Hey team.
and Luke Henderson.
Howdy, howdy.
We've got a great episode lined up for you this week, all about new Joy-Con colours, a beloved game developer shutting down, and Nintendo killing a very helpful Zelda glitch, and more. But first, let's talk about a surprising sequel, to say the least. So, a sequel has been announced for that, very popular Nintendo Switch launch game, 1-2 Switch. So, it's called Everybody 1-2 Switch. Nintendo has not provided any footage, screenshots, or really anything about the game other than like a couple short sentences that are like, hey, you can do fun things with Joy-Cons and phones.
I'll just pause it there, Angelo. Your keyboard is coming through the mic very apparently.
Yeah, it is very much. But,
It's like you're literally recording a keyboard.
I'll stop talking in that case. I'm sorry.
You don't have broadcast on?
I do. It's just...
It's not taking. Okay, it's not taking out. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Oh, there you go. We'll keep all of that in. Why not? So yeah, we kind of knew about Everybody 1-2 Switch before this announcement, because journalist Imran Khan, who used to work for the
Game Informer.
Game Informer, and then Fanbyte, and now has moved into game development. Nintendo focus grouped the game, like 2021, and it was so poorly received by every focus group that they did that they shelved it. So it's a little bit surprising to see that it is back and that they're actually going to release it. So it's a budget release. It's only $50, which obviously is cheaper than the full price that you pay for 1-2 Switch still. And like I don't understand why this exists. Like, nobody really liked 1-2 Switch. Like, it was fine, but like nobody wanted to pay $80 for that. And now like they've just said, oh yeah, it's coming out like June 30. It's $50. There's no trailer. There's no screenshots. We don't even really know what it's about.
There's one
a guy-
screenshot on the Nintendo of America page. It's just a picture of two people holding controllers in very weird poses on like a pastel wallpaper. It doesn't actually tell you anything about the game.
No, so here's the description that they have on the eShop. It's get together in groups and compete in a host of weird and wonderful minigames featuring everything from balloons to aliens and much more. In those games, you'll use your Joy-Con controller or smart device in a fun and unique ways, earning points for your team. In time-honored fashion, the team with the most points gets to claim the glory. Like there's nothing there. There is literally nothing there. You could be describing like 50 games on the Switch with that.
I love how they say, balloons to aliens. It's like not aliens to balloons, but it's like they got two letters into the alphabet and then gave up.
Well, I mean, like at this stage, like I would fully believe that there are two games in 1-2 Switch, Everybody 1-2 Switch, and one is a balloon one and one is an alien one. Because again, we know nothing. All we know is that there's like a stupid guy with a horse mask, which like, Jesus Christ, Nintendo has caught up to 2013, so that's exciting. And that's it, right? Like, it's so weird.
I mean, clearly, one of the mini games is going to be the Harlem Shake.
I made a joke. I made a joke in our group chat about it being like, oh, horse mask 2019. Then after that, I literally googled like, when did the horse mask meme start? Maybe I'm just misremembering, and it was 2007. So
yeah. So yeah, it's I don't know. What do we think? Are we going to be dropping $50 on Everybody 1-2 Switch?
Oh, absolutely not. But it looks like I'm looking at the picture there. Like, it is interesting that they have literally half the cast of the people that are on the cover of the game. They're holding up phones though, and as you said, like, you're going to be using personal devices to connect to the game and stuff. Apart from something like Jackbox, I can't recall off the top of my head any games that really do that on the Switch, and that's not even really a Jackbox exclusive thing. Is it Just Dance? Oh, of course, like using it to control your dance moves and stuff. Yeah.
There's another one that's like a very thinly veiled Jackbox ripoff, but it was kind of arse.
How does Just Dance do it? Because Jackbox does not connect to the console; it's connected to a website.
Yeah.
Is Just Dance the same?
Yeah, so you log into
I
your
couldn't tell
account
you.
on your phone in the
Yeah,
app, and
right.
your phone into your Ubisoft account on the console as well.
That's interesting. Then I assume Nintendo's doing the same thing then, but Nintendo doesn't have a great history of keeping up websites. So
Well, I
So
mean, this will be an app. I wouldn't be surprised if it just like directly connects to the console, because the console obviously does have like, Wi-Fi hotspot capabilities. So
It could just be potentially. It could potentially just be like a new tab in that Nintendo app.
I was about to say it's probably just the Nintendo app. Yeah.
We do know one thing though. This game won't make use of HD Rumble in any way, shape, or form.
No,
Last time I checked, my iPhone did not have HD Rumble. So if I'm playing against people that have HD Rumble and I'm on my phone, I'm at a severe disadvantage.
Your phone has haptic feedback though, so.
So this is the thing, right? Is that like most like high-end phones? So like your iPhone does have the exact same rumble motor that Joy-Con has. So theoretically, it could use HD Rumble. I very much doubt it. So they're probably not going to be any like Ice Cube games like there is with a 1-2 Switch or anything like that, which makes me think it's going to be like very pared back. And
I think I'm equating this to the Wii Play experience, where it's just like they're fun micro games, but once you've experienced them all, that's it.
I don't know, man. I love the Wii Play only because of the tank game.
The tank game was amazing.
Tank was absolutely baller. It was so good.
But my point is, like, once you've experienced them, you don't really need to play them again. And I don't think anything in this collection will do. Like the 1-2 Switch at launch had the appeal of it. It was a tech demo to showcase the Joy-Con, and then everyone got weirded out by the cow milking game. But I don't think this will have anything remotely similar to that.
I still feel like this game and even Nintendo Labo have completely underrepresented the IR blaster that is in every right Joy-Con. I feel like this game absolutely should be utilizing it in more interesting ways than sticking the damn thing in your mouth.
now, so I think we've talked about this in the past, but like there's an IR blaster, a very, very clever use of the IR blaster when you play Resident Evil Revelations. So when you're using like motion controls to aim and shoot and stuff in Resident Evil Revelations on the Switch, if you need to reload your gun, you have to like move one Joy-Con and then like slam the bottom of your other Joy-Con as if you were like putting a clip in, and it uses the IR camera to detect that that's what you're doing, and it's like the stupidest like use of the technology, but yeah.
I just realized something. So everybody 1-2 Switch is playable in TV mode and tabletop mode. It's not playable in handheld mode, which means this would be the first game Nintendo's published since the Switch Lite released that is not compatible with that console.
I mean, like you could play it still if you connect other Joy-Con to it, right?
That's the thing. You need an additional accessory to play it. This is the first game they've published that requires an additional device to play it on one of their consoles.
Well, a good thing there are new Joy-Con on the way.
Ring Fit Adventure is one.
Did that release before or after the Lite launch though?
I think it was after the Lite. I'm pretty sure.
It was probably around the same time, like 2019, late-ish.
Yeah, I just remember it was before the pandemic hit, and that's why it exploded.
Yeah,
but
anyway, to follow up on Angelo's segue there are new Joy-Con colors. Oh, I don't think anyone cares about everybody 1-2 Switch enough to like continue talking about it. Like it's a thing that exists.
No,
actually,
all I know is Target dropped the first game like a week after it released down to like $30. It's like a launch week game dropped like significantly at Target, and that's how I picked it up.
This game and the previous game should just both be free. 1-2 Switch should have came with the console, and this should just be like another freebie tech demo, whatever you want to call it. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
It should be a Nintendo Switch Online perk, probably.
I don't know if you call it a perk, but it should. Well, be in there.
It should be included. But yeah, Angelo.
Yeah. Also, I think. Sorry.
Oh, go. No, go.
I said I also don't think it would have added value, quote unquote. But yeah.
I just wanted to point out. some stat about the game. So I just did a quick search, which is why I was clickety-clacking on my keyboard earlier. So 1-2-Switch is apparently sold, according to Wikipedia, 1-2-Switch is sold just over 3.63 million copies.
Oh my
which,
god.
Sounds like a lot, but I don't know. It's all relative, right? It's currently, again, according to Wikipedia, it is currently the 33rd best-selling game on the Switch. It sits right underneath Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is on 3.82 million. And it's a few slots above Paper Mario, The Origami King, Yoshi's Crafted World, and Metroid Dread. So it has sold better than those games. Granted,
That's a crime.
it was also a launch game, so there is that too.
How does a game that sold 3 million get a sequel, but a game that sold 52 million not get a sequel?
Well, again, as Ollie pointed out before, and I think I've mentioned before as well, Nintendo seems to be the only company in the world that makes games and then holds on to them for a year or two, and doesn't release them. They just we'll put this in the back burner. We'll set it for a rainy day.
When they announced it, I went hunting and I can't find a classification for this game. The box art's been released. It's got a classification sticker on it, but I can't actually find a classification listing.
Well,
So it's
I
probably
would
hidden at the
wager
moment.
that it was probably classified through IARC, which usually has like a 1 or 2 month delay.
Yeah.
Because usually IARC is only used for digital-only releases, but you can pay to have IARC rate your game if it's getting a physical release. Otherwise, it's free for digital releases.
So just another question. So do we know of any other, I can't think of any off the top of my head, are there any other Nintendo published games on the horizon now that Tears of the Kingdom is out?
Pikmin 4.
When's that out?
August?
Yeah,
July.
it was like 14, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
I almost was gonna.
And Metroid Prime 4, right, guys?
Metroid
Of course,
Prime
yeah.
4. I mean,
Yeah. I was also gonna kind of argue as a joke that everybody 1-2-Switch could be the Switch's swan song for the rest of the year.
Oh god.
I mean, I don't think we even mentioned about the fact that this game was announced on the 1st of the month and it's releasing at the end of the month. Like, Nintendo have never done that. I don't think any company's ever done that.
The game was probably done in 2017. That's why.
Oh, it totally was. It's probably just all the stuff they decided they didn't want to put in the first game. But
well, I mean, the only other thing I can think of is Metroid Prime Remastered, which was announced and then released on the same day.
I can guarantee you this game's obviously going to be awful, but I guarantee you, in years to come, this is going to be that rare gem that collectors are going to find really hard to get a physical copy of.
Everyone's in 10 years' time, they're going to be like, "Oh, this is terrible for video game preservation. We can't find this game."
I can see it being the Omegathon final game at PAX.
Yep.
Anyway, new Joy-Cons. So later this month, there's going to be 4 new Joy-Con colors, but only 2 new sets, unfortunately. So this is coming out on the same day as everybody 1-2-Switch. So while you're at EB, you can pick them up at the same time. So there's they're all pastel colors. So there's a pastel pink and a pastel yellow combo, and a pastel purple and a pastel green combo. The purple is gorgeous, and I need it. The others, I could take or leave. I just first of all, why are they making new Joy-Con colors when Joy-Con drift is still a thing, and they have made zero strides to fix that. I mean, the newer ones are definitely way more resistant to drift than the earlier ones, but it's still not a solved problem, And second of all, why can't I just?
It's a solved problem. They just don't want to solve it.
You have to
They
buy
solve it
new
by
ones.
making you buy new Joy-Cons.
That's the solution.
Well, I mean, they will replace in every region now your drifting Joy-Cons for free. So, there's that, but that also means you have to send away your Joy-Cons every year to get them replaced. Anyway, my second issue is that I just want to be able to buy a set of purple Joy-Cons, right? Why do I have to buy a purple and green one, right? It's just I hate how they do this, and with previous ones have been in other regions they have the opposite ones, so you have to fucking import things.
Yep.
That's the Pokemon business strategy.
Well, except it's not, because they're not even selling it to me. I have to go to some shady third-party import company to.
Oh, sorry, it's the Pokemon Go business strategy. We have to go to another country to catch a Snorlax or whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, like these look nice. I don't really see the point of more Joy-Cons. I think everyone has enough Joy-Cons now. Don't need more Joy-Cons, and like I don't even use them. As I tweeted like shortly after this, like I use the SplitPad Pro Compact, and it's just like I would never ever use any other like controllers handheld, and like I have like a shit ton of Pro controllers just like sitting on my desk in front of me right now. So like for docked play, I don't need Joy-Cons either. So it's like, why would I buy more?
I really hope in the next Switch Pro, Super, whatever the hell it's going to be called, that controller changes and upgrades is one of the big things that happens to that console. Because I feel like the ergonomics of the Switch console are not great at all.
See,
like for me anyway,
it's
like I
kind of
feel
weird,
like
right?
holding a console is not enjoyable after like a long period of time.
Yeah, so like I find the like Switch Lite like significantly more comfortable to hold for longer periods than the regular Switch, and I'm sure that part of that is just because it's like lighter and smaller and just like fits in the hand better. But like I'm also not sure like if you're gonna keep that screen size and like the body size of like the Switch, like how can you like create controllers that like feel nicer to hold in long periods but not make them bulkier? Because like I'm pretty sure Nintendo doesn't want like a much bulkier console. Like the split pads like on my Switch like make it so much bulkier, like Steam Deck sized.
Yeah, but I think the issue is that nobody's going, at least I don't think anyone's going, like I will stand by this. No one's going, oh, this is super uncomfortable, but I'm really glad it's this size. If it was any bigger, I'd really, really hate it. I think if it was just bigger and more ergonomic, everyone would be like, yeah, it's totally fine. Like no one would care.
I don't know. I think it would be annoying for me because like as it is, it's kind of annoying for me. But yeah, I don't know. It's not like a big deal breaker or anything.
In years past, Nintendo have proven they're okay with doing multiple SKUs at launch. You know, we had the white Wii U and the black Wii U, or the non-Pro and the Pro version. We had the grey Joy-Cons and the red and blue Joy-Cons at the Switch launch. I honestly think it would be fine if they launched, if the Switch 2 had the Joy-Con format still. It comes with the standard Joy-Cons in one model and then maybe a chunky version. Yeah. Just like, they know if they charge an extra $20 for the fatter Joy-Cons or whatever you want to call them, people will pay for it if they want them.
I very strongly suspect that the next Switch iteration won't have detachable Joy-Cons at all. I think it's just going to be like a handheld that you dock and then you have to buy a Pro controller for it.
As long as my 8BitDo Ultimate controller works on it, I don't care. I'm fine.
Also, like, what's up with that, right? Because, like, they said that they were going to launch, and then, like, they still haven't, like, showed up. I've been wanting to get this 8BitDo, like, Ultimate controller for such a long time, and it's been, like, almost, like, a year since they announced it, and it's still not available.
I know.
They're busy working on the 64 controller inserts. So.
Because I did the review for Vookcast, and that went live, like, the first week of November, and they're like, it's launching here soon, and it still hasn't launched.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really news that we put in there, but yeah, 8BitDo are doing Hall effect sensor mods for N64 controllers and wireless upgrade to them. So
yeah, and they seem a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, that don't seem great.
Yeah.
But it's nice that they're trying.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think because, like, they can be updated with their firmware and stuff, they could very much, be improved in the future. And like I think some other 8BitDo products have had like teething issues with like the first batches, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case here too.
But there's also that company that made the Hall effect sensors for the Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
So maybe Nintendo will surprise us and put those in their next Joy-Con, their next Switch controller.
I don't think Nintendo's gonna pay somebody else for a design. I don't think they're gonna license shit. Like it took them like 4 years to like add Bluetooth audio because they didn't want to pay for the license. So I don't think they're gonna like pay a random like tiny controller company to like license their tech. It's just not gonna happen. And that company unfortunately does have the patent on it. So
yeah,
anybody who wants to use Hall effect sensors in modern controllers has to pay them. Yeah, I mean, anyway, controllers, purple. I'm a fan. Just honestly, give me a console in that color, and I'll like add my split pads to it, and it'll be fine. I don't really give too much of a shit about the
obviously,
Joy-Cons.
this is a tangent. Nintendo is the odd console maker this generation. They keep putting out special consoles all the time. But can we just acknowledge that Xbox and PlayStation have been controllers in this generation? There's so many color variants and options now.
Xbox particularly have been like on point with their controllers. They're really nice.
Yeah,
and that's not even counting Design Lab.
Yeah, I mean that's
totally.
the thing. My only issue with Xbox controllers, this is also just like the controller hour now. My only issue with Xbox controllers is that like the Elite series ones, which like I think are really cool, and I love a back button on my controllers. They don't have the share button, which is like one of the most crucial
I've talked about
buttons
this
for me.
so much. Agreed.
It's just like it's so infuriating because like you put the button there, and then it's like, oh, there's this button to like switch profiles. It's like, okay, can I just remap the button?
Yeah.
To be
100%.
screenshots instead.
I don't think we haven't had this convo with each other. I've said this exact same thing so many times. Like, why can't you just remap the profile button to the screenshot button? Like, why not?
It's so infuriating because like it's a modern console and like a screenshot button is like kind of crucial, right? You know, it's free marketing for your console to let people like quickly take screenshots and videos and like, you know, upload them to Twitter or whatever. Why are you making it so difficult for people with a premium product? Like, this is more expensive than a regular controller. It'd be like if the DualSense Edge came out and they're like, oh yeah, there's no touchpad on this. And it's like, well, that's kind of like necessary for some games, hey. But yeah, it's the dumbest thing. But then, like, you know, PlayStation is off here making Project Q, which is a thing that nobody cares about or wants. So,
oh yes, their QU pad.
Yeah, it's just the dumbest thing.
I just love how that was announced the day after the PlayStation branded Backbone controller launched in Australia.
It was so funny because like you'd like go onto like the PlayStation blog and it would be like, you know, announcing Project Q, and then like the next post it would be like, get the Android Backbone Xbox controller now, and it's like, oh, this is kind of a bad look for you guys. Anyway, Angelo, tell us about controllers. You've been quiet for a while.
Oh, like there's nothing to it. Like it's fine that they exist, I guess, but like I'm not gonna rush out and buy them. I'm still using
controllers. It's fine that they exist, Angelo.
it's fine that they exist. Yeah, but new ones exist is what I mean.
Put that on the box art, Jesus.
I'm still rocking my Splatoon like neon pink and neon green ones. I love those. Whatever. And when Joy-Con break, you know, when anything that's electronic breaks, I hate having to go out and buy a new one of that thing because I've already invested in it. So I always just buy replacement parts and tinker away and replace things. Like my Joy-Con have drifted multiple times now, and I just get replacement sticks. They feel like crap, but I'd rather spend $10 on those than another $70, $80, $100 on a new pair.
See, I would, but like the process of opening up a Joy-Con is so fiddly and annoying that it's an
absolute ball ache, that's for sure. But like
last time I did it, I like tore one of the ribbon cables, and I was just like, fucking whatever, I'll just toss this out. Like, I don't care anymore. I just do not care.
With my DualSense controller, in like the R2 trigger, one of the little springs had snapped. The ones that like bring the trigger back about a year ago. So I bought a replacement spring and opened that up, and that was also just the head spin to actually open up and get working. But then when I went to go close it, I noticed that I had actually torn off one of the ribbons for one of the microphone arrays. There's one at the front and there's one at the back. And I tore off one of the ribbons, so then the microphone. I had to buy a replacement one of those. And like again, like it's only like $4 or $5 just to buy the replacement ribbon. So just controllers are getting more complicated to open up, so they are more annoying. But for cheapskates like me, like I'd rather go through that pain rather than have to keep forking out money, like big amounts of money on replacing tech that companies should already have R&D'd and made sure that they work properly to last the generation.
Well, I mean, like, see, here's the thing, right? Is that like we can say like, oh, Nintendo didn't do enough R&D, they didn't do enough research, but like, there's, I don't know, like I'm willing to give like the teensiest bit of leeway because like Nintendo testing it in-house, that's like at most like 1,000 people able to test that, like compared to 120 million people testing it and abusing it in different ways. Like they can't test for every possibility. So like I totally understand, but like they also haven't done anything to address it since.
No,
So
but
like
that's
if a
it.
product comes out and it's like, you know, it doesn't have the longevity that anyone expected, then like, you know,
Look, if like analog sticks were first generation, this generation, they never existed before, then sure, I'd forgive them. But they've been doing other game companies have been doing analog sticks for decades now. They've had clickable sticks in their controllers since the Wii U. Like they've had the tech, they've had the research, they know how all this works. And the fact
Nintendo
that even,
64 analog sticks have more longevity than Switch Joy-Con sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
And those things are wild.
So like, yeah, I'm never going to be forgiving of multi-billion-dollar corporations for making sure that their stuff works. So
yeah. But I mean, like it's worth noting that like every like unless it's a Hall effect stick, so like the Dreamcast and nothing else, like every stick on every controller will drift eventually. Like it's just an inevitability. If you like search up like DualShock 4 controller drift, like it's a thing. You can look up Xbox 360, you can look up PS1.
these
Like,
were happening
it's-
super quick, and they were happening to almost everyone.
Okay, but like the same is like true of like Xbox controllers. It's just like we didn't have the sort of forum culture and the internet culture to sort of back that up, right? Like I had controller drift in my Xbox 360 controller like 4 months after I got my Xbox 360. And I know other people who were the same. It's just like we didn't have the same sort of like fast-paced internet culture that made these things into major news stories.
Oh, yeah,
The
but that was
Switch
then,
was-
but this is now, and they still haven't
Yeah,
fixed
I
the
know.
problem.
I know, but like you know, yeah, I don't know.
You got to remember, ball mice back from the the 90s and early aughts had the whole hard ball in there. You know, you'd have to take that ball out and then scrape all the dirt and stuff off the rollers.
Oh yeah.
So it's not as if dirt inside stuff's been it's an issue that's only happened in the last 15, 20 years. It's been happening for 30, 40 years now.
Can we talk about how grubby mice get? My goodness, they're so
Yeah,
gross.
oh my god, I cleaned mine out the other day, and it was just like, ugh. I genuinely like hated myself because I was like, oh, this is revolting. But then I was like, you know, everybody, like it happens to everybody. Like it is just a fact of life.
Yeah.
Ball bearing mice were the worst for that, absolutely.
And
The
the
worst part was-
seams in all your controllers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
don't even get me started on that, man. It's so gross. I look at that and I'm just disgusted with myself.
Anyway, yeah, that was our controller discussion.
Big tangent.
Come back
there.
next fortnight for more discussion on controllers.
We all had it. We all had an input on that discussion.
Oh, I get it.
So
Input.
moving into some, less joyous news, I guess, depending on how you interpreted the last news story. So the developer behind the Dylan's Rolling Western games, as well as a co-developed Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, they're called Vanpool, and unfortunately they've announced that they will be shutting down. So they didn't really give a reason for it. They just said, due to multiple factors, we're shutting down. They also developed a bunch of Tingle games on the Nintendo DS, which, sure, but that's them, right? They've worked as a co-development studio with Nintendo for quite some time now, sort of like the past 6 or 7 years. They've been co-developing a whole bunch of stuff, and they've done work on games like Splatoon and all of the Kirby games, and just a whole bunch of stuff. So unfortunately, they are shutting down, and hopefully
not shutting down. They're gone. They
Well,
basically
they're
said, "Hey,
gone
we're
now.
shutting down," and then halfway through the next day, they were all gone.
Yeah.
So
So hopefully some of the developers there will find their way to Nintendo and other places as well. 'Cause
given
they
the
do
number
have
of them that have worked on Kirby games over the years, it would not surprise me if they get picked up by HAL.
But always sad when a video game developer shuts down, and this is almost exactly the same as Alpha Dream.
Yeah, I was just thinking that
a few
too.
years ago, because like Alpha Dream, Vanpool made a 3DS game after the Switch came out, and it just did not do well, unsurprisingly, because nobody really cared about the 3DS after the Switch came out. So yeah, it's definitely not a good thing that they're out of it.
I
and
would
they kind of
say
got sent out for die.
if anyone needs any joy in their life, I would highly recommend to look up the box art for freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, because it is glorious.
I actually haven't seen. Oh yeah. It is wonderful. Big fan. Also, give us more Tingle games. We haven't had Tingle in a game for a really long time now. I don't care if he's like.
Tingle is
outfit in
legally
Breath of the
allowed to
Wild.
be out, to be honest.
Make
But,
him the face
yeah.
of Pride Month.
Yeah, for sure. Nintendo should do something for Pride Month, and Tingle, why not? But yeah. So, rip to Vanpool. I hope they get to continue doing the cool stuff that they wanted to do, but under other developers. Not really a lot of room for discussion on that, but yeah. So we'll move on. There was a new patch released for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It killed all known item duplication glitches, which is like really annoying. So I haven't updated my game because item dupes are fun, and I don't want to grind for money, and I also want all the cool outfits. So, get bent, Nintendo. I'm not updating.
I've done the exact same thing for the exact same reason.
Get bent, Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it always frustrates me when things like this get like sort of patched out from games, because it's like, who is this hurting, right? It's a single player game. It doesn't hurt the experience. You can't like overload the memory because it like unloads some of the items when you get to too many anyway. Like there is no harm.
I was going to bring this up because I've heard a ton of people say, "Oh, but it breaks the game economy." I'm like, what are you talking about? What game economy? It's not an MMO where like you can genuinely destroy an economy. It's a single player game. You can do whatever you want on it. It's totally fine.
So in Skyrim, you can go up to a vendor, sell whatever you've got in your inventory, and take his 450 coins that he's got. You can take him down to nothing. Right? If you go back the next day, he's got no coins still. Right? It takes a few days for that to for him to get money back. In Tears of the Kingdom, you can go to Beetle, sell 10,000 rupees worth of diamonds, right? Then go farm another stack of diamonds, go straight back to him like 40 minutes later, and he still will take, the 10,000 rupees worth of diamonds. There's nothing in that. There's no restrictions in the economy in this game, so I don't understand.
Here's the thing,
argument.
right? Is that like you could be like, oh, it's breaking the economy, but it's like I can just go out and like endlessly mine diamonds, right? It's like if I wanted to, I could spend like the next 100 hours getting a full 999 stack of diamonds, and then just sell it and have the infinite money anyway. So it's like, how is this any different? It's just cutting down on the time.
Because by then you will have been a self-made millionaire. You will have earned that money, Ollie. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire, though. So
pull yourself up by the bootstraps, Ollie.
But yeah, I don't know. I was just like, this is kind of like one of Nintendo's like things, right? Where it's like, we decide how you play the game and like no fun allowed. They do it in pretty much all of their games, right? Where people like find like a fun little glitch that is ultimately harmless. Like I understand, like if you find a glitch in like Splatoon or whatever that has like a thriving competitive scene, maybe patch that out. But like in a single player game with like no ill effects, there's no risk to like your save file or whatever. Why kill that stuff? Like it just, I don't know. Other companies do it too. Like this is by no means also a Nintendo thing.
I love how they phrase it in the patch notes as well. Like several issues have been addressed to improve the gameplay experience.
Yeah.
That's generic Nintendo talk, unfortunately. That's what they say like for every patch release. Like if this was included, if there was like a major issue or something, or a bunch of issues they had to fix, and they just threw this in because they were fixing other things, they thought, why not? Sure, like I get that. But to release an update that exclusively kills
that's the thing, right? So like it also did like fix one quest that couldn't be progressed otherwise. But like there was already an in-game fix for that anyway, where you could just wait for a blood moon. So it's like, was that really needed?
I learned the other day, if you cook in the last 30 minutes of the day before a blood moon, every meal you make has double the effect.
Yeah.
And apparently it happens in Breath of the Wild. I did not know that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to know more about this audio issue. Fixed an issue where the sound would play at an extremely high volume in certain
so this
conditions.
is a really fun glitch. I don't know
wanna know more about
exactly
that.
what causes it, but it's basically like a particular type of enemy in one of the temples will just like always be playing as if it was like right next to you, no matter where you are in the temple. It's a very fun glitch because like it's the for Luke, because I know you've played this. It's the fire temple.
Oh yeah, I know the glitch. I've had that.
Yeah. So yeah, that is fixed now. But I mean, like,
Okay.
not for me because I haven't updated.
See, I'm just picturing like some 8-year-old kid in their car playing, and then it's like they're just bleeding from their ears, like ah! It's so great.
But yeah, I don't know.
God.
These
I hate children.
things is. I don't know.
Whoa, that escalated so fast.
No, they're fine. I was one once. It's all good.
Once
We went from
we all-
like
we all
get
still are
bent
kids.
Nintendo to I hate children.
I just want. We should actually make this a discussion topic for an entire episode, just talking about like the best glitches in games. Because like, yeah, I
I
find
was like, we should make hating children an entire discussion topic.
that's just its own podcast. But I know, like, I kind of miss the days when Nintendo games would come out and they just couldn't patch things. Like, I think like some of my fondest memories are back to long car rides playing Pokemon Red, just sitting there like for dozens of hours at a time,
Swimming
just,
up
like,
and down the coast trying to get
Yeah.
the rare candy glitch.
doing that. Like saving turning your game off partway through saving, so that way you can duplicate your Pokemon. Like,
Yeah.
you're always rolling the dice on that one because you could literally corrupt your fucking save file. But we all did it nonetheless.
The best ever glitch, just quickly, is the for me, it's not a glitch, but it's the Wario Stadium on N64. If you can make that
yep.
jump just after the
Right
start
after
line.
yeah. It's a pretty good one. Like even recently, with Animal Crossing, like, dude, you better believe that I exploited the hell out of that like infinite bells glitch that was in there. Like I was just there racking up millions and millions. I'd paid off Tom Nook. I'd gotten all sorts of expensive junk. Like, and I was just at the
The
point where I'm
game
like,
economy.
yeah, I know, right? But then I was at the point where I'm like, I've got so much money. I'm gonna go to my friends' islands and I'm gonna bury money in their islands. Like,
That's cute.
yeah, like, because why not? Like, it's my own game. Like, I'm doing whatever the hell. If I choose to buy the game and then burn it, that's on me. Like, it's up to me. I paid for it, so why not just let me just enjoy a couple of glitches?
As long as you
Yeah.
don't save scum and piss up.
Oh goodness.
Oh my god.
You gotta finish
Try that again, Michael.
Nope. No, I'm just down, mate. I'm over it. I just can't talk. I'm not talking anymore.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, I don't know. Like there's like in Breath of the Wild, I did the glitch that lets you like dupe the spirit orbs, so you can like actually get to maximum hearts and stamina rather than just like picking one or the other. In most games where there's like an easy to do glitch that doesn't like ruin my hands just through the execution of like 17 frame perfect inputs, I'm gonna do them like just for the fun of it, right? Like I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
So glitches are the entire reason why GTA, it's great fun to pull out the phone, punch in a random number, and spawn a tank.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
just doing things silly is exactly why we play video games. And if people are going to take that stuff away, it sort of defeats the entire purpose of having fun.
Imagine you couldn't be able to watch a guy play Super Mario World, do an exact set of movements to manipulate RAM to finish the game within like a minute 30 or whatever it is. That is so it is so impressive to watch. If they patched that out, that would have been awful.
I guess the takeaway lesson is in a big single player open game like this, just don't update your game. Just leave it.
Yeah. I mean that's what I've chosen to do here because
Like-
I want to dupe stuff.
Unless like your game just gets so loud that like your ears start bleeding and your eyes fall out, then maybe update it. But
But yeah, Nintendo, give it back to us. Give us the dupe glitch. Make it intentional.
can you could totally just uninstall the game, right? And then just like reinstall the game and it won't have
so
a patch.
If you have the
Typically-
cartridge,
If the cartridge, yeah.
But like typically, like there's this thing that Nintendo does where like if your game has been updated, it sometimes won't let you on that console play the game unless it's updated all the way to the full thing. So like if you updated to like 1.1.2, like you didn't stop that update, even if you haven't like opened up the game or like created the new save file or whatever.
I know there's often like
won't let you.
incompatibility issues with save files as well.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Like save files might be locked to a certain version.
But yeah, I don't know. So moving into our feature discussion, it's going to be a short feature discussion, but I just wanted to quickly talk about video game difficulty. So while there aren't really any sort of Souls games to talk about, I feel like we can safely talk about difficulty without drawing the ire of like millions of people. Difficulty in video games is like a big discussion, for better or for worse. There's arguments to be made that difficulty and accessibility are very closely intertwined. But just for the purposes of this conversation, we'll leave accessibility out of it and just talk about difficulty that we personally engage with. So if you're playing a game, I want to know from everybody sort of what are your thoughts on difficulty? What difficulty do you tend to play on? And do you think that more games should have easier or harder difficulty settings? Whoever wants to go.
I'll go first. I have a weird relationship with game difficulties because why are you smiling already, Michael? It's not that smile about.
Jeez.
Sorry, I probably started off a bit weird, but so I have a very distinct memory of when I flipped on the difficulties that I would set for myself. Going before I got in 360, I would always play games in easy mode because I felt there was no reason to play any harder, right? I was just playing because I liked the story, just for the fun of it, and then if I like games enough, I'd go back and play them again, etc., etc. So I'd always just play them in easy because I never found a real compelling reason to play them any harder. But then achievements came into it, and that's when everything changed. Achievements and trophies, and I became the biggest whore for them for a little while. And when you look at my achievement numbers, you would absolutely question why I even bothered. Like, there's no point in why I even bothered being an achievement whore. But I'm quite proud of my trophy count, at least. Considering the amount of games that I played. And at that point, I started playing things on like hard and then harder difficulties and things. And every time I would get a new game, and even now, first thing I do whenever it comes up and it says, what difficulty do you want to play at? I always just check to see if there is a trophy and if it's a gold or a high number of achievement points for playing on like hard or the hardest difficulty. But if there isn't, then like I'll just by default now I'll just bump it down to normal or medium. Like that's usually where I sort of coast. I coast at like normal and medium unless there's a specific reward for playing any harder than that. Because otherwise, like if I'm playing, I used to also kind of enjoy playing hard just for the bragging rights of saying, I play it on hard mode. But then like no one kind of cared, so I stopped caring as well. But yeah, like I don't feel any reason to make a game harder, to have to spend more time just getting more and more angry with it, frustrated, not wanting to play it. So I just might as well just play it at a more suitable level that lets me kind of get through it, not easily, but at least at a rate that the developer intended, I feel. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's pretty much been like this my entire life. I enjoy playing games at whatever the normal level of difficulty is, like whatever like the developer intended, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
That's what I just enjoy doing. I have no problem with other difficulties existing. I know some people do for some reason. Like I don't really understand why, but if people want to play a game in an easier difficulty, down to the point where like it's basically like just a story mode, I'm 100% okay with that. And to the other extreme as well, if people want to make your eyes bleed like in real life by playing a game, live the dream. That's totally fine if that's what you want to do. Then we have the subject of games that have one difficulty only. Like you said, like these Souls likes, which I think I'm probably okay with, because I feel like that is so tied to the gameplay experience. The gameplay is very much tied to the difficulty of the game. Well, we'll get into it, but like I do agree that concessions I don't know if that's the right word, should be made to help games like that be more accessible, though.
Yeah, for sure. Luke, give us your
I grew up playing games in the era where there was no difficulty settings. You just got the game and you either liked it or you didn't. And I remember playing through Shadow Warrior on the Game Boy, and that game would kick my butt continuously. Like, it was not an easy game. And a lot of that was because of the limitations of the platform. But I just still kept trying because I was like, I'm going to get through this. The New Zealand story on the NES, that game is brutal at times.
Such a good game.
I'm hanging for the Taito Collection 2 coming out soon. That'll have it in there. But I love that game, but it's just so brutal at times, and I still, have fun memories of playing it. That being said, these days, depending on what I'm playing, if I'm playing, because I play a lot of games for review, if I'm given a game with like a 4-day time before the reviews embargo's up, and it's like a 15, 20-hour epic, if they've included a story mode, I'll just throw it on story mode, right? Like, I played through Horizon Forbidden West just before Tears of the Kingdom came out. I played that in story mode, and it still took me like 19 hours to get through the story. And the whole reason I did that is because I just needed to get through the story. I didn't care about the 17 extra side missions or anything like that. I just wanted the story. And games where the difficulty isn't difficult because it's now requires more of you, they just increase the amount of health enemies get. That's not difficulty, that's just bullet sponginess, and I don't like that in games. I think that just it's the laziest way of doing game difficulty, and I think that's not helping anyone. If it was something like more akin to, like, if you went higher up in difficulty, became more like a Dark Souls experience, then sure. But just adding 200% to their health bar doesn't make a game more difficult. It just makes it pure frustration because it's not giving you anything back extra for the effort you're putting in. So my thing has always been, I'll stick with just the base difficulty level at the gate. If a game does let you swap, I did it in Jedi Survivor. I got up to a point, and after like 2 hours of trying to get through this one area, I just kept getting owned. I dropped the difficulty back one level, got through it, put it back up again, and I was fine.
Totally.
So if games do that, I'm fine with it. But my honest thing is, again, like, I grew up without difficulty settings. So whatever the default is that the game says, that's just what I'll go with.
That's fair. So yeah, as Luke said, like, things are a little bit more complicated for people who have to review games. So if I'm playing a game for review, 9 times out of 10 I will pick the easiest difficulty. And I know that, like, there's going to be people that are like, oh, games journalists bad at games. Which, yeah, I'm absolutely bad at games. But that's not why I put it on the difficulty.
Imagine people saying about movie reviewers that they're bad at watching movies.
Yeah, exactly, right? But yeah, so like, the reason I put it on is because, like, as Luke said, oftentimes we'll be on very, very tight deadlines, and every little bit that can get you through a game quicker helps. And I would rather, not get, quote unquote, the full experience, than, like, play a game and only get halfway through in time for review. So that's generally how it is. But like Luke, I will usually pick the standard, default difficulty if it has an option to change the difficulty in, like, after you've started the game. There's a bunch of games that don't let you do that, and in those games I will pick the easiest difficulty every single time because I'm not restarting a game in case it just, like, becomes bullshit with its difficulty, like, halfway through. Just not going to do it, so I'll pick the easiest one because I just don't have the time for that.
God of War, not the recent one, the one before that, the reboot, I played that through on normal. So I got to that stupid elevator where they just keep spawning enemies in for, like, forever. And I just kept getting decimated. So I dropped it back one level in difficulty and managed to get through it. And at that point, I was like,
sequence was so good.
But at that point, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to play through the rest of this because the game just was pure frustration at that point. Because it wasn't combat before then wasn't demanding. It wasn't like Street Fighter level of input requirements. But you weren't having enemy after enemy after enemy thrown at you, but then all of a sudden you are. And the game, I just didn't feel like the game prepared me for that sequence, so I just sort of gave up on the difficulty. And that's what I've done with other games too, is where all of a sudden games expect you to be a master at something, but they've never given you any reason to think about that before. So
yeah. I'm also probably the most hardline in my stance that every game should have an easy difficulty. I don't really see any reason not to do it, right? And people are like, oh, well, developers shouldn't have to change their games. And it's like, well, I don't want them to change their games. I want them to design from the get-go to have multiple difficulty settings. And even in something like Dark Souls, this is probably going to stray into accessibility a little bit, but even like if somebody is not like physically or mentally disabled, right? The approachability of something is just as important as the accessibility. And like there will be people who do not have the physical skill to finish a Dark Souls game or finish Elden Ring or those kinds of things, and it has like nothing to do with the limits of their body. It's just like they would have to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours to get to a point where in that particular game they can pass that, and then like who knows if that knowledge or experience is really going to be transferable to any other game or any other thing in their life. So I think when we see things like Celeste, which is like obviously designed to be a difficult platformer, but has all of those options not just for accessibility but for approachability, where it makes clear that like it's not the intended experience to turn these options on, but if you feel like you would enjoy the game more, you can turn these on. I think that's the right approach to do, because like just having like basic like easy, hard, normal difficulty settings is like fine, but like having like fine-tuned like, okay, well, the timing of this particular thing is just like difficult for me. Being able to like extend the timers on puzzles in some games is, enough, right? That's a difficulty concession that can be made that isn't going to drastically change the nature of the game. And things like Dark Souls could benefit from that too, because like, having more iframes when you dodge roll, or like enemy patterns are a little bit more, subdued or a little bit easier to read, or even just, easier to dodge, or you don't take quite as much damage from things that are, a little bit more intense. Like that stuff is like easy to do. So I don't know. I think everybody sort of benefits when more people can play games, whether that's an accessibility thing or an approachability thing.
I feel like a lot of this, annoyingly, has to do a little bit to do with gamer culture and the perception that somehow people are less than if they require an easier difficulty or an accessibility option or whatever when they beat a game. Like, it's just, I feel like that's just really reductive and such an old school way of thinking. Like, let someone enjoy the game however they want to play it, or however they are required to play it. Some people don't have a choice. Just let them enjoy it.
I remember way back in the day when Guitar Hero and Rock Band were big, everyone would start playing, the games on the easiest difficulty. Just to see, the song, because some people just didn't care about the gameplay, just wanted to hear the music. But I remember playing them, and I was playing through on beginner, just to sort of learn, how I had to hold the guitar controller. And then once I started getting better at it, I jumped up a difficulty and then jumped up again. And nowadays, like with Beat Saber, I play on hard most songs. But in their options, I've turned off the walls stuff, because I hate the ones where you've got to duck down. It's like, I'm standing up playing your game already. I'm not going to be crouching and standing up for the next 5-6 minutes per song. So yeah, I'm all for choice, and I think just some small concessions to make things more approachable for the individual user is exactly what the industry needs to do. And sometimes that doesn't mean just making everything stupid, but it just means adding a little bit more time to the weapon selection wheel, which is what Horizon did. You could add more time to that by default. Or Forza Horizon 5, you can slow down the game speed, and if you need the time. I don't need that. I'm blessed and I'm not vision impaired or hearing impaired or anything, but I use that feature simply to try and get a few bloody stunt jumps that I needed, because it just made it so much easier. Because sometimes when you're going 400 kilometers down a dirt road, the game physics like to throw you out off the cliff without any warning. So yeah, concessions make it better for everyone.
To those people that are like Dark Souls shouldn't have an easy mode because it takes away from it. It's like, first of all, like, you're an idiot. But like, also like, sorry, I'm not gonna like mince my words. I think it's like just an objectively stupid thing to say. But I think like, you know, you directly benefit from other people being able to play the way that they want, right? Because like, I'm never gonna buy a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring or a Bloodborne or whatever, right? Because I don't have the physical capability to finish those games. But like, if there was an option that made them easier and made it actually completable for me, I would buy that. I would give money to your favorite developer so that they can make more things and hire more staff and get games out quicker and make higher quality games, right? And there's like millions of other people like me that like just wouldn't buy these games because, you know, they're too difficult or whatever. And, you know, this could be more money that is given to your developer, your favorite developer, and you don't have to touch those easy difficulties. If you want to, like, you know, scroll into the menu and like pick the one that's like, you know, nail my balls to the wall, like, pick it, right? Nobody's gonna stop you. It's not gonna like affect anybody else. Just, you know, think about like how much better things could be if more people played the games that you like playing. You could talk to a friend who's like maybe a little more of a casual gamer at work about Elden Ring, and you know, they probably struggled just as much as you did, but the difficulty is a little different. So yeah.
So yeah, that's where the discussion sort of gets a little pricklier. I feel, because like, I personally like a lot of From Software games. I rarely finish them, but I really enjoy playing them. And like, the difficulty, sure, like, they have this reputation of being hard, but like, the difficulty, I think, for a lot of people is that they go into them thinking that you've just got to be like Neo in the Matrix, and you just have to basically just see like everything as like reflexes and frame rates and things, or like, you know, animation frames. You got to get in at this certain time and things. But what a lot of people need to sort of realize as well is that these games are pretty, like, they're hardcore RPGs in their core, and like, a lot of the times, like, if you focus on building your character and learning more about the game, like, you'll find other ways to take down some of these harder bosses. And there are a lot of games that are like that as well. Like, sure, back in the day, it was a problem with like having to grind for a lot of these things to level up your character or find the best items or have enough money to buy the best items and all these kinds of things. But generally, like, you know, a lot of games now, like something like Elden Ring, for example, it's so much more open. The approach to the overall scope and design of that game is very different to other Souls-like games, because, you know, it's not as linear and you can go anywhere, which means you can potentially find a lot of these things that help boost your character and find other enemies that you can probably take down, which then contribute to how good of a character build you have to take down other harder enemies and stuff. So I totally understand that, like, these games are difficult for some people, whether that's, you know, just like their physical capabilities to be able to play them, or even just like, you know, the technical capability of just, or even I forget, I lose the word, but just the tolerance for playing something is difficult. Like, I think it's difficult to say that like every video game should be for every person, therefore it should fit this specific mold for everyone to be able to play it. I think for generally, like, art is different for different people. Like, you know, movies challenge people in different ways in terms of like how they respond to them. Like, you know, not every movie needs to be approachable for every person. Same with music, same with, you know, sculptures and paintings and things like that. I think video games are also the same thing. I think it's unfortunate though that difficulty is sort of the crux of that, the approachability as to whether or not someone can come in to enjoy a game, particularly newcomers or people with physical disabilities and things like that as well. It's a difficult sort of conversation to sort of veer into when we start looking at that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you just have to frame it in like, you have to look at games in like a different light as part of like an art form, right? Like, so gameplay mechanics and the way a game works and the difficulty of that game is a core part of how games as a whole work, right? So if you were thinking about like a movie or a TV show and you wanted to make it more accessible to people, and people were saying TV shows shouldn't have subtitles, TV shows shouldn't have any type of audio descriptions, that audio description track tied to them, TV shows or movies shouldn't have a version where there are reduced flashes for people who are sensitive to that type of stuff. I don't think a lot of people would agree with that in any way. And I think we're sort of crossing into that barrier right now with games where like the difficulty of a game, if we just want to talk about it like that, is sort of in that same area where like there should just be, like I said, I don't want to use the word concession because I feel like it's minimalizing how people develop games or what the people who try to play them go through.
I think compromise might be a better word for it, like sort of like a meeting in the middle kind of thing.
It should be like let's go with that. That we're meeting in the middle for people who, especially people who don't have a choice, right? People who have like a physical or cognitive impairment where they can physically or mentally cannot do something. There's no reason, I think anyway, that they shouldn't be able to enjoy this piece of art just like anyone else. And I feel like that should go for the majority of art, if not all art. Like,
and let's be honest too. Just if a developer made Dark Souls 4 and they made it and they put in every customizable function that we have in the industry so far today, there will still be people that are unable to play that game. There will be some restrictions that just don't come into play. But I think coming back to the point where, game difficulty is, it just needs to be able to provide you with enough of a challenge to make your progress through the game feel like you're achieving something, that you're getting rewards for the effort you're putting in. And if that means that, you have to turn on subtitles, which, let's be honest, subtitles weren't around for so many years. And now I've seen some people complain about accessibility options, but then they go and turn subtitles on. It's like,
dude, subtitles in video games are an absolute must for me. I cannot play games without subtitles these days.
Because I would say the majority of people would agree with you. The majority of people that I know turn on subtitles immediately.
The first things that I do when I start up a game, I do four things. I check to see if there's an achievement for difficulties. I turn on subtitles. I change the inversion for y-axis, and I bring the music levels down in all games, because apparently no one who works in video games knows how to mix a damn video game so I can actually hear the audio. I can actually hear the dialogue. It's so frustrating.
So I went into Star Wars Jedi Survivor and I didn't turn on subtitles because I'm like, that's fine, it's Star Wars, right? And then it's like, oh, Senator Brush on planet. I'm like, oh god, now I have to turn subtitles on just so I know what the hell these names are.
Yeah,
that's generally why I have subtitles on, is just for names. Just so people are spelling things. So.
But I think when we talked about the comparison to like, books or TV shows or movies, right? The key difference there is that, like, let's say that there's like, if you're an able person in, who speaks English, right? You can sit down and watch a movie and there is nothing that will stop you from seeing that movie from start to finish, right? If you read a book, as long as you can understand English, there is nothing that will stop you from going from start to finish. And the same with a TV show. But like, anybody can pick up a controller, but there will be things in some games that like will prevent you from seeing all of the content that has to offer. And I think that like that's where like we sort of have to draw the line with these things, is because like, we can't consider games the same as like movies and TV shows and books, because there's an interactivity, right? Like, you're not a passive bystander to the media being displayed. You are actively involved in it. And I think that changes the conversation, especially, again, I don't want to get too into accessibility, but like, for people that do have disabilities, it's kind of crucial that we start designing games that are, not necessarily, for everyone, but for anyone rather.
Yeah, I think the point that I was very poorly trying to make was that all forms of art, depending on who you are, get to be experienced by you in a different way. Like, you don't always intend someone to experience something the same way as you envisioned they would. So, you might have a painting and there might be someone who is visually impaired who can't see that painting, but they can feel the impasto in the paint on your painting, right? And you would have never envisioned someone to experience your painting like that, but that could be the way that they experience it. And I think games need to have that same effect, You can build a game, like I said from the beginning, with an intended way to play, but we should be building in ways where people can play the game in a way that you might not intend them to play it because they don't have another choice. It's as simple as that.
You're exactly right, Michael. We should definitely apply death of the author to all forms of art. I mean, that's essentially what the discussion is, right? When we come to like developer intent, right? Is like it's how people engage with games, right? And like, I don't think the way that the developer intends for people to engage with games is any more or less important than the way that the player wants to engage with games.
Yeah.
So like, if you want to glitch in a bunch of diamonds in Tears of the Kingdom, why stop that, right? If you want to, go into the I files and give yourself like, unlimited health in Dark Souls, like that might not be the intended way to play it, but like it's no less valid the way that the person has chosen to engage with the game.
You want to go into Doom and access the command console, turn on God mode, and just lay waste to hordes without worrying about taking a single bullet hit.
Yeah, and I think like the frustrating thing is that like so many of these like options that people are asking for and that would make things easier for some people, stuff that like are included in debug menus that the devs use every day. All they need is a front end toggle for it, and it makes
less mods.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not an easy conversation. Like there's a lot of perspectives to take into it, and it's a lot harder to make the argument that difficulty should be retroactively added into games or whatever, because it's not always that easy. But I think that you can always design a game from the ground up to be more accessible to more people and more approachable to more people. And I think if you're a developer and you're not doing that, I think you're kind of like, limiting your audience needlessly. Because I think more people want to play games. I want to play Dark Souls because it's like, dark gothic fantasy. It's basically fucking 3D Castlevania, and I love the shit out of Castlevania. But I just don't have the physical ability to do it, so I don't buy those games. Which
I don't buy those games because I think they're poorly designed, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we'll come back to that in a later episode. But at the moment, I think we should move on and talk about the games that we're playing. Angelo, you've got an interesting one there as your first game you're playing.
Yeah, Cassette Beasts just recently came to Game Pass, in the last couple of weeks or something like that, and I recently got my hands on a Steam Deck, which I've been really, really happy and frustrated tootling away with, trying to get it to work the way I want it to. Trying to get things like Game Pass working on it is a bit fiddly, but when it works, which is great. And that's how I've been playing Cassette Beasts, actually, is via Game Pass. And yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it so far. It's very much a Pokemon clone, but with a kind of an interesting twist in that instead of like capturing things by throwing balls at them, you sort of copy them by using a Walkman that has a record feature, and you use cassette tapes. You sort of record them using that, and
your Soundwave.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, it's still very, very early. I'm not really very far in it at all. But there's like 120 creatures to sort of like scan and discover and copy and all those kinds of things. Story is a little bit weird though. Like I don't quite understand what's going on. Again, I'm very early in the game. The way I sort of understand it is that you're basically like dead. You're like in purgatory or limbo or something like that, and everyone else is also there across different times, and no one knows how they got there. And people sort of talk to you as if I don't know what kind of era you're from, as to whether or not you even have like movies or TV and things from where you're from. And it's such a bizarre sort of idea. And like there are these giant beasts called like archangels. So it almost gets like sort of Neon Genesis and philosophical in that sort of way. It's very, very odd in terms of what the story is.
Does the game have to explain to you what a cassette and a Walkman is? Because I've got a feeling that it's going to be a large subset of people that do not know what either of those two things are.
Well, so
you mean like that TikTok video with that girl with the cassette tapes?
Yeah. No, it doesn't quite do that. Although, like, there is. I don't know. I won't get too much into the story because I'm still sort of working things out. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But like, it does have it does have sort of that like retro cool kind of tone to it, where like, it's cool that you're using cassette tapes and all that, and like to rewind the tapes, like you have to use a pencil and all these kinds of like silly little tropes. But I think the idea is kind of interesting. I'm liking the art style. It's kind of that mix of voxel graphics with kind of like 2D pixel art characters over the top of it. Yeah, it's super colorful. The music's interesting as well. There's some music with actual spoken lyrics in them, which is interesting too. But yeah, I'm kind of down with it. And the other game that I'm playing is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is another Star Wars Jedi game. Super cool. Way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I'm just like up to the open world planet, and I'm already like, oh my god, this is such a huge game. It's going to take me forever to get through it. So I think it's going to be that kind of slow burn game that I play, for a couple of hours at a time.
I saw a video the other day. Somebody claimed they got through that game in 32 minutes or 36 minutes. It's like, you can't even get through the tutorial in that amount of time.
Yeah.
So obviously they found some way to skip that.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers. But it's looking incredible, and I think this is going to be the first game that I play through on this generation of consoles in 30 FPS performance resolution mode. Because I'm actually kind of liking it. I kind of like the way it looks when I put it into performance mode at 60 FPS. Like the fact that it's at 1440p is actually really jarring to me. I'm looking at it, I'm like, this just looks kind of off. We're playing
I know
4K.
if I can continue recording this podcast.
I know,
it's quite frankly.
And look, I'm not gonna lie. I was absolutely the same. I had the same attitude as well. Like when I went into it, I'm like, nah, 60 FPS or bust. Playing this game like it defaults to resolution mode, and I'm like, I kind of prefer this. I don't like the way it looks or feels in 60 FPS.
I played it through in quality mode because the amount of visual flourishes just made it look nicer for me.
Yeah.
For whatever it's worth, the 60 FPS mode is not 60 FPS. Like it does not consistently hit 60 FPS. So I think like going for 30 FPS and having a consistent frame rate over like a higher but very inconsistent frame rate is definitely the way to go. Especially because it looks so much nicer too. Because in the quality mode, it has like a very dynamic resolution that like drops down like as far as 900p, which is just real ugly sometimes on a big 4K display.
So glad we got all this power, that we still can't hit 1080p on half the games we play. I also want to say my TV is also like 9 years old, so it looks like arse when I play in like performance mode. It just can't keep up. My new TV gets delivered this week. So
I think specifically for Jedi Survivor, they need an option on console to turn off ray tracing. That would very drastically improve performance.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it like. I genuinely think ray tracing is like the 3D of this generation of consoles. Nobody cares, right?
It's like, that's fair. I was going to say, I thought you were going to say that ray tracing is like bad and awful. But yeah, I agree that like, this generation is 100% that. Totally.
Yeah, like it's just like, it's not really worth like the performance hit, right? Like it looks a little bit prettier, right? But like, nobody was complaining about like baked in reflections or like, standard dynamic lighting. Nobody was complaining. Nobody was like, oh wow, this game is great, except it doesn't have ray traced reflections. Like nobody gives a shit.
Yeah,
so like
the trade-off.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna quickly say like the trade-off of like 10% better lighting for like 50% frame rate is not worth it in my opinion.
Yeah. And like there's an argument to be made that it makes like lighting easier for developers, and that's absolutely true, right? Like not having to bake in lighting for every single scene and every single like possible interaction is like a huge boon for developers, but like they have to do that anyway for like the PC version of the game if it's a multi-platform game, because you can just turn ray tracing off. So it's like, well, if you're already doing the work, like this is just like put that into the consoles as well, because right now we're having like huge performance issues in all of these games. PC games are like broken at launch because they're trying to like optimize all these different things, and they just can't because they have to put ray tracing in as well, and people get angry if there's not ray tracing. It's just,
I remember when Devil May Cry 5 on PlayStation 5, like 2 or 3 days after the console released, and I reviewed that version, and they had as a separate option, like there was like performance mode, quality mode, and quality mode with ray tracing. I'm like, why wouldn't you just put ray tracing in quality mode? And then I turned on quality mode, and then I had quality mode with ray tracing on. I'm like, aha, that's why you don't bake it into the default setting. So
yeah. I think I said this when the new console gen came out. That I truly think like any like PS5 Pro or like Xbox Series X2, whatever the hell they're gonna call it, comes out, the thing is going to be like considerable performance increase in ray tracing, because we just aren't there yet. Once ray tracing becomes like an actual like performance level like thing, and you can do it without destroying a game, I think it's going to be a pretty cool like leap in visuals for people.
Yeah.
All right, Luke, tell us about the games that you've been playing.
Yes, I've been playing this small little title called Tears of the Kingdom. Still playing through that. I did try to start playing the Horizon DLC. That has not gone well. But I also got to play F1 23. So I got to play through a good couple of chapters from the story mode. And it has one of the things that I absolutely despise in games, when the game forces you to lose for the sake of story.
Win the battle, lose the cutscene. It's always
yeah,
how it is.
It's like I was in. They're like, oh, you got to win the race, or got to finish the race. I'm like in first place in the first chapter, and then the car has problems, so I have to retire. And I'm like, I just did like 9 laps, no issues. But now that I'm in first place, now that I've achieved the goal, now there's a problem. So that's fine. Again, it's just more F1. If you liked last year's F1, you'll probably like this year's F1. I'm not an F1. I mean, I've been playing it since Nigel Mansell on the Super Nintendo, way back in the day there. Yes, I'm old, people. But other than that, it's just more F1. It's a yearly sports release. There's not much more you can say about that sort of stuff. But I enjoyed my time with it. So,
Michael, what have you been playing?
I've been playing some Diablo 4 Cracablo. It is very good. If you enjoyed Diablo, any previous Diablo, you will enjoy this. If you played it on PC, there's a lot of clicking. If you played it on console, there's a lot of, I don't know what buttons you press. Is it triggers for the main attack, or is it buttons? I've got no idea.
You just hold
I think
it.
it's
yeah,
usually
right?
the face
I
buttons.
believe it's A. If you
A.
want to
Just
attack.
hold it. You
There's a
don't
lot
have
of
to press
A
it.
pressing then.
You'll
enjoy
I
it.
just laugh at every time I see a new mouse come out. You know, they're like, "This is a gamer mouse. It's registered for 50,000 clicks," and I'm like, "Oh, so like 2 sessions of Diablo."
Yeah.
Or Dota.
Yeah.
I was saying before the podcast, I started playing it yesterday, and I started playing at 11:30 a.m. and then all of a sudden it was 6 p.m. and that's a session of Diablo for you. Time just disappears and your brain switches off and you become one with the world, and it is glorious. So if you enjoy it, live the dream.
And I have to call out, this is from the same person that last podcast
Here we go.
ragged on the developer because they made a really shit game, but the same developer, a different team, but the same publisher. You know, when they actually know how to do, when they get things right, they get things very right. So
I stand
so
by my choices on shitting on everyone equally.
Yeah, so I have also been playing Diablo 4. I played it for review, so I've been playing the past 2-ish weeks. I don't even know. Time is not a thing that exists when Diablo is involved. You just like, I don't know. I've played through all of the game, well, all of the story content. There's a bunch of post-game content as well, but that's another thing altogether. And yeah, it is so addictive. Michael, what class are you playing, out of curiosity?
Playing Sorcerer.
Nice. So I played as Druid. Loved it so much because you can basically play it as a sorcerer. And that's like just my favorite thing is when you can just, pick a class that's like, oh yeah, we definitely want you to like transform into a werewolf, and it's like, cool, but you're giving me lightning powers, so here we are. But yeah, it's very, very fun. My main major complaints are that, as I was saying a little bit before the podcast, there's a lot of story stuff that is just like straight up recycled from previous games, and if you spent like thousands of hours playing those games like I have, you'll start to notice that there's not a lot of like original storytelling in there, which it's fine, it's whatever. And I think the monetization and battle pass and platinum and obscuring your money and making you pay $15 for a single horse on the shop, that stuff is just complete nonsense.
You just reminded me, for the love of God, whoever designed this, go to hell, put your stash chest next to a blacksmith. Why would you design
It's
it
like on the
that it's
opposite
far
side
away?
of the city. Oh god. It's just, and there's like so many like quality of life stuff in Diablo 4 that wasn't in previous games, where like you can mark stuff as junk if you just don't want it anymore. So when you go to the
Mhm.
blacksmith, you can just sell it all at once. And like that's great. And then it's like, okay, but like previously, if I went to the blacksmith, the chest would just be like, you know, a couple steps away. And now it's like in most like, I've been to every single like city in this game, and there's like 5 or 6 different like big cities, and like in 2 of them, I don't even know where the stash chest is. Right, like it's somewhere in the town, but it's not near anything I go to. So yeah, it's yeah. There's issues with it, but like the gameplay loop is like pure Diablo, and it's like the best parts of every other Diablo game. So it's like got the punchiness of like Diablo 2 and like the feeling of power that Diablo 3 has, and it's all just so much fun. But yeah, I'm gonna. Unfortunately for reviewers, we lost our characters when the game went live. So my like level 50 plus some druid is no longer for this world, which is a bummer.
I know people like give reviewers, oh, but you got a free game. It's like, yeah, but when something like this happens, when you spend like 2 weeks playing a game and it's on a server that won't exist once the review period's gone, it's like all that work, all that effort, and you don't get to continue it. It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
I hate when people say that reviewers get a free game. That really grinds my gears. Because you get a game that's worth like $70, but then you do like 20 hours of work playing the game, and then you do about 3 or 4 hours of work baseline, like just reviewing it. So all up, you're at least doing 25 hours of work, which is not worth $70.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is that like
Completely different
you know,
discussion, but that's what's going to
a lot of like freelance reviewers as well, like they get paid like, you know, $150 for a review, but they put like, you know, 60 hours into the game and then like 10 hours into writing and editing the review, and it's like, well, you've just like been paid essentially like $8 an hour. Which
I've written for sites like as a volunteer for much of my writing career, if you'd call it that. And like a lot of the times, the editors would always treat like getting games to review as a reward, and I'm like, buddy, I'm giving you content. This is not this is not a reward. I'm working for you, giving you content. Ugh. Anyway, like, we'll set that aside as another topic for discussion.
We will, yeah.
We've reached our tangent limit this episode.
Yes,
but yeah, I've also been playing Tears of the Kingdom. I have done 4 temples so far. Enjoying the heck out of it. I'm really liking just one of the things that I didn't really see called out too much in reviews or in previous discussion. The way that like the gameplay experience snowballs for the player. So basically, like, you know, it took me a week to like feel confident enough to take on the first temple. And then it took me like 4 or 5 days to get to the second temple. And now, like, I just knocked out 2 temples in 1 day, like literally earlier today before we started this, because I feel so much more confident and I'm like more capable of playing the game. That like, you know, the experience points are the player, right? It's like my knowledge and my experience are what makes me stronger in Tears of the Kingdom. And that's like really, really good game design. But all of this game is incredible game design. So yeah, I hated the heck out of Breath of the Wild, but Tears of the Kingdom is really, really clicking with me so much.
Guess I'll never know.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the game we're playing. I don't think I've missed anyone, have I?
No.
Cool. So 20 questions.
Let's see how we go with this one then. All right, gentlemen, how about it?
Is this a game? Jokes.
No.
Do this game.
Can you imagine, yeah, I was gonna say, can you imagine if you said no? Like...
Did this game release on or after 2010?
It did not.
Was this game developed for a handheld platform?
No.
Okay. Was this released on or before January 1st, 2000?
Okay, the hard answer is no.
Okay.
So it was after that?
So it's
Does
between.
Angelo know how to tell the dates?
Between
Got
Wait, sorry,
confused.
January.
Like
did
American.
you say on or before?
Yes,
Yeah,
on or
before.
before.
January 1st,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
2000. Okay, so it's
Right,
before
so it's
that.
before 2000. Okay, cool. Can you
That's still the
imagine
hard
if you
answer.
didn't realize that? I'll correct it. It would have been pigeonholed so hard. I don't want to narrow down.
I think we need to narrow down a console.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. It's not a handheld, so was this game released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System?
No,
TM.
it was not.
Okay.
I think that's 4. 4 questions.
It
That was
is.
four.
I think
four,
it was,
yes.
Was this game? Does this game feature 3D graphics?
I was going to quickly look up a screenshot.
That's
I
always a
believe
good sign.
I believe it does. Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay.
So,
So it has to be
unless
64
there's
then.
like some really spectacular NES game that I've never heard of, it's Nintendo 64.
Okay.
Was this game published by Nintendo?
Yes, it was.
Interesting. Okay. Did this game use the expansion pack?
Yes.
Glad you're confident with your answer there, Angelo. That helps.
No, sorry. It did not.
It didn't use it. Okay, cool. All right.
Oh,
I would have
Donkey
narrowed
Kong
it down
64.
so much. That sucks.
No, because in terms of dates, anyways, the expansion pack came out in 2000, right?
Huh?
Did
Did it?
Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong.
Oh god, did
I
it? Did I
remember I
just
got mine
ruin a
with-
question?
Donkey Konga. Donkey Konga. I got mine with Donkey Kong
DK64.
64.
Yeah. all those-
Because I
those
remember
were
I,
like 2000.
I came back from the States in September of 2000 and I got Perfect Dark, but I didn't have the expansion pack. So
Yeah.
I could
No,
play
I'm
was like
looking it up.
the
I remember the
bots.
expansion pack was a must for
No,
Perfect Dark.
it came out in 1998. I feel vindicated.
Okay, my bad. Anyway, no, it did not require the expansion pack.
Not required. Did it just use it? Like, did it support it?
I can't answer that. I have no idea then.
Okay,
'Cause there were a few
So I
games
took
that
that back.
used it but didn't require it. So
correct. Yeah. That's what I was asking.
Did we
So
say
that one
this
didn't
was
count.
like published by Nintendo, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm all over the place now. Is that 6?
It's either 6
think
or 7. One of the two.
7.
Yeah.
7, yeah.
Well, we'll say 6 because that one that Michael asked was a freebie. I couldn't answer that one.
Okay, I'll allow it.
I mean, video viewers will see the hearts on the side of the screen, so that helps. All right,
You can make sure like one appears for 7 and then gets taken away.
I'm keeping my fingers
what
up this time.
happens. Was this game developed in Japan?
Yes.
Have we already had Mischief Makers? Because that's like the first thing that's coming into my brain.
We have had Mischief Makers.
Okay. That wasn't a question, so don't take a point away, Luke.
No. But yeah, we have had that. I was very happy. with that.
Okay. So Nintendo published, made in Japan.
Nintendo published a surprising amount of shit on the N64. I just
Yeah.
want to put that out there. Like, they didn't develop any more than any other console, but they published so much.
The only thing is I said just have a 3D graphics, and he had to check it. So to me, it seems it's like it's not a 3D game.
Full disclosure, I haven't played this game.
Okay.
Okay. I'm also like thinking of like Ogre Battle, which is a fun little tactics game.
Yeah, I mean, we
I
could
guess we
ask
can
if it
narrow down.
features the Nintendo characters like Mario and all that, because that will knock out
narrow
a few.
down genre. Sorry.
Yeah, too.
Yeah, I mean either of those. Take your pick.
Is this game considered an adventure game?
I don't believe so. No.
Is this a racing game?
No, it's not.
Okay, this is a complex question. Is this game known for being a cross-media franchise? As in, it has games and, animated shows or movies or something like that.
I don't believe so. No, that's 10.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that knocks out things like Star Wars and like Pokemon and...
I
So did you
question
ask if it
whenever
was-
Nintendo developed the Star Wars game, but sure.
They published Star Wars... All of the Star Wars games on N64 were published by Nintendo.
Yeah, but they weren't developed in Japan.
Yeah, so I have to ask. Did you ask if they were developed in Japan? You
I
did.
asked that,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fair, but even still. Pokemon was still very much on the table, and I wanted to get that out.
True. I mean, yeah. Is this game considered a puzzle game?
No.
Um, is this an RPG?
No.
Jesus.
We could ask the meta question.
But if we've mentioned it,
No. Is it on Nintendo? Is it on the Nintendo 64 app?
oh, that's a good one. Yeah,
No.
give it a go.
Is this game available on the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo 64 app?
It is not.
Okay.
This is a tough one.
I can't think of it. I can't
Watch
think
it
of
like
anything.
not be tough though, and it's like, oh yeah, fucking Mario Tennis or whatever. Like, Majora's Mask. Fucking just the super basic.
Thinking about Sin and Punishment, but I don't think that was released before 2000.
No, that was pretty late N64 from
Yeah.
memory. But did Nintendo publish that, or did Treasure publish it themselves?
I think Nintendo published it. I could be wrong though.
I remember Nintendo published the Wii Shop release of it as part of the Virtual Console, but I don't know if they did the original release.
I mean, this isn't getting us closer to it, so.
No.
13 questions down.
I mean, has this game been on any other platforms, either concurrently or since? Like,
It has.
okay, so it's either a multi-plat, unlikely, or it has been on like Virtual Console.
Or Nintendo published the game initially, announced in one of those collections.
Also possible, or like it's a rare thing. Well, probably not rare because they're not, not Japanese, but.
Bomberman 64 come out. Wasn't that published by Nintendo?
Pretty sure that was Hudson.
There's like so many of these things where it's like, it seems like it should be Nintendo published because it's only ever been on Nintendo stuff, and like they have a close working relationship. Like all of the Hudson stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like they pretty much only made Nintendo games, but. Yeah.
Would you classify that as a... Did you ask about puzzle games? Would you classify Bomberman as a puzzle game? I don't even know what you classify that as.
64.
Yeah.
I'd say that's an adventure game.
Okay. Fair.
I love that game so much.
Which I already asked if it was an adventure game, and he said
Yeah.
So it's not an RPG. It's not a puzzle game. It's not an adventure game. You asked about racing, didn't you, Michael?
Yeah, it's not a racing game.
If this is Mario Tennis, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Have we asked about puzzle games? We haven't, have we?
We have it. It's not a puzzle game.
Oh, it's not a puzzle game. Sorry. Just had a
Literally
stroke and
just got over
forgot.
that, Michael.
Yeah, no.
Is this considered a sports game?
No, it's not. That's
Oh my
15.
God. What
I'm going to
the
say,
hell?
I don't think genre's going to help you with this one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was gonna say it could be Oddmo, but that was GameCube.
Man.
about Mario parties? Because there's Mario Party 2 and 3, which aren't on the Switch app yet. Because they're still coming. They're not adventure games. They're not puzzle games. They're not races.
I think it could only be Mario Party 2 in that case, because Mario Party 3 was like 2000 or 2001 or something.
I mean, we could ask if rolling a dice is important in this game.
Yeah, but like it, I don't know. You could ask that. I don't really have any other leads, so.
I don't. Sorry, yeah.
I was going to say, does this game feature Mario or his direct conglomerate of characters? So Luigi, Donkey Kong, Peach, Bowser.
No, it does not.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking like.
Does this game have multiplayer?
Ooh, good question. I can't answer that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So you're still on 16. That was a freebie.
2 freebies for me. Winning the game.
Just to like
hacks.
get this out of the way. I don't know. We don't really have any other options. Did this game release outside of Japan? In its original form?
I'm going to go ahead and say I think so.
Okay.
I mean, my mind's gone to Doshin the Giant.
I was thinking of
Captain Rainbow. Custom Rainbow, yeah.
Okay, that's 17, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask it now because I feel like we're late in the game. Have we mentioned this game yet?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, God. That makes it so much worse. Why did I do that to myself?
Because the only games that still fit in it would be Ogre Battle,
Yeah.
64.
No, because Ogre Battle's like a strategy RPG. So I feel like it not being an RPG means Ogre Battle can't really be it.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't ask about RPGs.
Yeah, you did.
Did you?
Pretty
Asked about
sure I
adventure
did.
games and puzzle games and racing
Ollie
games.
asked about. Michael asked about puzzle. Michael asked about racing. I did puzzle and adventure. Ollie did RPG.
Okay, my mistake. There's a lot of genres getting thrown around.
Yeah. And the whole when you hint at the genre may not help us. To me, that means it's not just a you look at it and you go, cool, that's like a platformer game. Which Chibi Robo or Custom, whatever the hell
Custom,
it's called,
yeah.
That's definitely like a platformer-esque type game.
Yeah, it's like a weird actiony thing.
What was that first game you mentioned? Mischief Makers? Could it be that? I don't know what that game is.
We've already had it.
We've
I've already had it?
I mean,
Oh,
unless
okay.
Angelo's doing a thing there. Have we even like outright confirmed that it's on the Nintendo 64?
We haven't, but it said it's got 3D graphics and it's not Super Nintendo. So, and it came out before 2000.
I mean, maybe there's like some hidden gem on the NES that has 3D graphics.
That's what I said before. I said some really rare.
I'm happy to burn a question to confirm.
Well, we don't.
Well,
I
I mean, I think
we have to have a guess.
I think it's
I
most
have them
likely.
guess. If it's not on 64, this is gonna be incredible.
There was a Captain Rainbow game on 64, wasn't there?
Captain Rainbow was like for sure only a Wii thing, right? I just can't think of anything else that was like made in Japan. Like, there's just nothing.
I mean, is there any question that we can confirm that it's Custom Robo?
I don't know enough about it. I mean, just Animal Crossing. Like, is that something we could do? Because like that was on.
We haven't
Animal
mentioned, we never
Animal-
mentioned it.
Yeah. Oh, you
Oh
didn't
yeah,
mention
true. We
Animal
didn't
Crossing.
mention it. Oh Jesus.
Because I was
Christ.
gonna ask hint about that, and then Michael asked the meta question.
It's gonna be like the stupidest thing. We're gonna feel so dumb. It's gonna be like a super common game.
Okay.
That everybody
Custom
knows.
Robo has robots in it, right? Like that's in the title. It's got to have robots in it.
Yeah,
surely.
What if there's something else though? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like we
you know
don't
what?
really have many
I'll
other
take
options.
it.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
ask
Does
away.
this game have robots in it?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
I also
Not
I,
that.
I know we're not supposed to cheat, but that game didn't release outside of
I think that's
Japan.
18.
Yeah, so that was 19.
18 or 19? I think it was 19, right?
Yeah, we have to guess now. We have no questions left.
Yeah, because I asked if we had 17, then I asked the meta questions, so it'll be 18.
You're right. Yes, we're at 19.
Yeah.
So it's a guess.
Jesus.
Oh, I've got no idea. It's gonna be something super obvious, and I can't think. Or it's not on 64, and we've just completely. And the smirk on Angelo's face is making me doubt my life choices up until this point. Oh god.
Yeah, I mean, I just have nothing, you know? It's not a sports game, so it's probably not Mario Tennis.
I guess Sin and Punishment, but I don't think it came out before 2000.
What if it's like one of those weird, like, license, like, not license, but like one of those weird ones that got, like, ported and then, like, published by Nintendo? 'Cause there's, like, weird stuff, like, I don't know. I'm thinking, like, were there anything like, you know, how SimCity had a Super Nintendo port?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Was there
Potentially,
anything like
if
that on the
there is.
Nintendo 64?
I mean, there is SimCity on the Nintendo 64, but it was only for the DD.
We haven't ruled out the DD as far as I'm aware.
We haven't.
I think, like, there was a Command and Conquer,
Yeah, that was Westwood Studios.
but we hadn't mentioned that previously, so
Yeah, but
Can't be
Westwood
that.
Studios are in California.
yeah. But I mean, who knows, right?
Look, we
Who knows
mentioned
what
it.
else
So
worked
what
on
games
shit?
have we mentioned? I can't even think of anything but the one I mentioned. So
Custom Robo, Mario Tennis.
one of the Mario parties.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah,
maybe
but
we can just go with.
I
Like,
asked if
Mario
it had the
Party
Mario
2.
characters in it, and it does not.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
true.
right. Of course.
Star Wars.
Did we mention a Star Wars game or just like
I
Like
just
a
said
specific
Star
game?
Wars. So.
Yeah. I don't know. We have to guess. Like this is going on too long. I've got no idea.
Maybe
Either we-
like, maybe we're just wrong, right? And Custom Robo doesn't have any robots in it, right? Like maybe
Sure.
that's what it is.
It's got to have robots in it. That's insane.
I mean, I don't know anything else, so like, I don't know. You just pick a random N64 game, like I guess. Like I got nothing, absolutely nothing. Like I don't know, Excite Bike. Or...
Okay. I don't think it's Sin and Punishment. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that came out after 2000. So if for some reason Custom Robo doesn't have robots in it, I'm willing to guess Custom Robo.
Oh.
I'm going to do it. All right. Is this game Custom Robo?
Okay.
Gonna hit us
So-
all with this.
Let's just knock my microphone in excitement. Released in Japan on December 1st, 1999, and receiving an
Oh,
expansion.
That's
in-
right on the edge. Sorry.
That's right. And received an expansion in May 2000, and then getting a re-release on the GameCube
Oh my god.
in Japan in March 2002, and then in Europe September 2002. Developed by Nintendo, the God game Doshin the Giant.
Oh my god.
on the N64 DD.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. And it was a DD game.
Send
That's-
good vibes
that's-
to Darren in the Vook's Discord for that.
Okay,
We
that's
were
good.
well
That was a good one. You know
overdue
what?
a loss.
I'm angry and I'm bursting with rage, but I'll allow it. that was good.
No one confirmed that it was N64. Luke mentioned it literally right before Michael asked if we've mentioned this game. Luke literally goes, "Oh, it's probably Doshin the Giant," and then Michael goes, "Have we mentioned this game?" And I'm like, "Yes."
I got stuck on Captain Rainbow.
I don't think I
This is
even
so
heard
good.
him say that.
No, I remember saying it because it was that one, and then in the GameCube preview stuff, there was a game that was like very, very similar to it, and it never released, and it looked cool, and I remember it, and I remember thinking, man, that looks like Doshin the Giant. So that game sort of sits in my head because of this other game that never released.
I will say,
Yeah,
I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and it says genre game, which is like nothing we ever would have been able to guess.
That's why, yeah, after like
relevant.
4 or 5 guesses, I'm like, all right, genre's not going to help you here, unfortunately. I should have said that like earlier on, but didn't want to intervene too much. But yeah, the only thing that I know this game from is literally, I believe, one of the trophies in Melee that you get. Like I remember seeing like the Doshin character as a trophy that you collect.
It's basically a yellow Gumby.
Yeah, kind of. And the screenshots look absolutely wild. Came out
I
on the
did say
N64.
that I just looked up Custom Robo, and it also came out in 1999 and also re-released on GameCube. And like, oh man,
That was a tough one.
that was tough.
I've been handing out a lot of easy ones apparently because mine pretty much always get guessed. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take one of
Totally
Darren's
fair.
suggestions.
64 DD is definitely something that no one thinks about, and quite frankly, it'll always be on our mind for every 20 questions from now on.
It was the moment that like, so the whole time I was hoping you guys wouldn't get it, and I'm very glad that you didn't because I feel a little better about it. But the moment that Luke said Doshin the Giant, I'm like, okay, he's going to cling on to that one because it's super obscure. And I literally just answered the question that, yes, you have mentioned this game. And then it just never came up again. I'm like, okay.
I didn't even think I
glad.
knew that it came out originally on 64 DD. Like,
I
I don't
didn't
think
either.
that was even in my head.
There's only like 4 games I remember from the DD: Doshin the Giant, the SimCity game, the Mario Paint type sequel thing, stage, whatever it was called, and then there was the what was supposed to be the Zelda Bura thing.
Wasn't there also the F-Zero track editor thing? Is that-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have any memory of that.
you could share discs with people.
And the reason why I got tripped up about the expansion pack thing is because throughout the Wikipedia article, literally the word expansion shows up like 4 or 5 times. So in my head, I'm like, oh yes, it is. And then I had to go back and I'm like, oh my god, no, it doesn't use the expansion pack. So I do apologize for
Alright.
that one.
Well, that about wraps up this week's Vookcast. Thanks, Darren, for tripping us up. Send us more suggestions.
Yeah,
I
thanks, Darren.
think Luke is next.
Yes.
Yep, Luke is next. So
Sure.
if you want to punish us even more, Luke always gives Scott hard ones anyway. So
I don't think anyone can punish us more than Luke can, so.
look, I'm just happy that this one wasn't Mario Tennis, because if I had said that and then it ended up being Mario Tennis, I would have just died.
And if it happened to be Custom Robo, that would have been the greatest comeback.
Yeah, because it's in the title, right? It could have maybe not been about robots. Anyway,
It only said Robo, not robots. So
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It could have been like a mistranslation. But anyway, be sure to visit the site www.vooks.net for all your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. To keep up to date, follow the site on Twitter at vooks.net, which is all spelled out. Or jump on over to our Discord at bit.ly/VooksDiscord. You can find all of the host's social information and links for all the stories covered in this episode in the episode notes on whatever platform you're listening to. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next fortnight.